Hey guys, John Weihn here, attorney and legal instructor for Blue to Gold Law Enforcement Training, coming to you today with another Roadside Chat, doing what we can to help you make sure you get it right every time. Today's question comes from an officer in California, and the situation is this. Officers get called to an apartment complex. They respond, they find two people shot in the hallway, two male victims with critical gunshot wounds, and one witness who is a girlfriend. The girlfriend says the three of them were Airbnb-ing the apartment for the last week. The host/apartment owner entered the apartment and demanded payment. An argument ensued, and the apartment owner shot the two males and then fled. Officers searched the apartment looking for additional victims. The apartment has basic furnishings, luggage, and blood. They noticed male in the shooter's name on the counter in plain view. The victims and witnesses consent to officers searching the apartment they were staying in for the last week. So the question is, do officers need to get a search warrant? And the answer is, it depends. I'm going to give you the classic lawyer answer we all know and love. It depends. First off, I want to make sure that we are clear. There is no such thing as the murder scene exception to the warrant requirement. Okay? We're talking about a situation where we have two male victims with critical gunshot wounds. This is going to be a murder scene, right? But there is no murder scene exception to the warrant requirement. And the case that established this was the 1978 Supreme Court case, Mincy versus Arizona. It's a sad case. An undercover narcotics officer was murdered during a drug raid. And officers froze that house, right? And for the next 4 days, homicide detectives conducted what the court described as an exhaustive, warrantless search. And they went through, they tore apart furniture, they cut up carpet, and they collected something to the tune of 200 to 300 items of evidence. And the Arizona Supreme Court said, you're good. The 4th and 14th Amendments are not offended by a murder scene exception to the warrant requirement. Up and up it went until it went to the United States Supreme Court, and the United States Supreme Court said, we disagree. There is no such thing as a murder scene exception to the warrant requirement. Once the exigency is addressed, once the emergency is resolved, you need to stop and you need to get a warrant. There is no such thing as a murder scene exception to the warrant requirement. So, let's get on to consent. And what we're talking about here with consent is we're talking about third-party consent, we're talking about co-tenants, we're talking about equal access. And the controlling case here is United States versus Matlock, and that's a 1973 case. And basically what that court case says is if you have two people who have authority over an area, if you have two people who have access to an area, then either one of them can consent, to give access to officers to search that area. And basically what the court said is if you have co-tenants, if you have co-occupants, if you give access to someone else, if they have authority over that area, then you run the risk that they will permit other people to come into that area, up to and including the police. So, the issue that we run into here, though, is with the Airbnb. A lot of times when we have renting situations like this, the owner will give the person renting the property access to only certain areas. So if in this apartment there are rooms that the person renting the apartment does not have access to, if there are areas that the owner says, hey, person renting this, you cannot come into this area, you cannot access this area, then their consent is not going to be valid as to that area. In that case, you're going to need a search warrant. The renter can only give you access to the area to which they have access. So if in this apartment there are rooms that the owner has locked, then you're going to need a search warrant as to those areas. In addition, if you want to open that mail, you're going to need to get a search warrant because obviously the person renting the apartment cannot give you access to that mail. You can see it, right? Plain view, right to be, right to see, when you are conducting that protective sweep under exigency to make sure there's no other victims in the area, you can see that and you can use that information in your search warrant. But if you want to go in and you want to open that mail up, you're not going to be able to do that based on the consent of the person renting the apartment. So the answer is, it depends. If there are no areas in that apartment that the owner has prevented the renter from accessing, then yes, your consent is good as to the entire apartment. If, however, there are areas that the owner has restricted access, where the renter does not have access, the renter says, yeah, I can go into all these bedrooms except for that locked one, then if you want to get into that locked bedroom, you're going to need to get that search warrant. I hope this helps, guys. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to let us know. Email me at john@bluetogold.com. We'll go through the question, we'll walk through it just like this. We'll do what we can to help make sure you get it right every time. Until next time, be safe out there, watch your backs, and we'll see you soon.